So earlier today, I did a video covering the updates to the Sage Advice Compendium. And in that, they also mentioned there was additional errata for various books. Well, here's the thing. There's a change to Volo's Guide to Monsters, and that is interesting to me because we knew, and specifically two races, the Kobold and the Orc, and we know that in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, kind of the race mechanic, if you will, is sort of changing with this concept of the lineage system. But we know a little bit from what we've seen in the Adventures League early access stuff. But this looks to have more hard and fast rules, and I hope in some cases that that's not what we're going to end up seeing. So before we get started, I just wanted to say a quick shout out to a link in the description for Jetpack 7's current Kickstarter, Blackstorm Realms. I am a contributor to that Kickstarter. I'm kind of an editor, 5e mechanical person on it. But if we get up to 60,000 raised, I'll be designing a subclass that goes into the book. So link in the description if you want to check it out. That being said, let us jump over to, I'll put a link to this, which is the place you can go and download the Sage Advice Compendium. If we go ahead and open it, you can see here's all the current errata for all the different books. And right here, it says Volo's Guide to Monsters. So we'll click this link. Now, if we go ahead and look at, they're going to have incorporated here the updates to the Goliath that we already saw in Rime of the Frost Maiden, right? Mountain Board says you get cold resistance. Because this reminder, the errata, they don't remove stuff. Like, so if I have Gen 1 Volo's Guide to Monsters, I will need all of these updates. If you have a Gen 2 Volo's Guide to Monsters or whatever generation of that book printing they're on, you may have some already in the book versus what you have now. So this is kind of comprehensive, showcasing everything. Like I've said before, if something got tweaked twice, like it got tweaked once and then they adjusted it again in a newer errata, the previous errata is overwritten, so you only have the current updates. Anyway, so Goliath now updates are in there. We have the updates for the Triton. Now we get to this where it gets tricky. Racial traits. The third sentence has been changed to, some of these races are more or less powerful than the typical D&D races, a reason for the monstrous races to be used in a campaign with care. First of all, that's bullshit, if we're being frank. More or less powerful? I feel like everything is more powerful except for the kobolds, and that's arguable, right? We all know UNT Pureblood is one of the best races in the game, period. Goblin, really, really powerful as well. Bugbear gets you reach, which is can be nutty. And Hobgoblin, I'm not that crazy about myself, but, you know, whatever. And then you've got Kobold and Orc. So first up, we get Kobolds. It says, in the ability score increase trait, the text has been changed to read, your dexterity score increases by 2. The adjustment to strength has been removed. So that's it. That's all they did? They just removed the negative ability score. They didn't change anything else to do with the race. They didn't give them a +1 to a different ability score. They just got rid of the negative. That was it. I went and pulled it up because they haven't updated it on D&D Beyond yet. Your strength score increases, or your dexterity score increases by 2. Your strength score decreases by 2. Now it just reads your dexterity score increases by 2. The only race in the entirety of all of 5th edition to just get a +2 to 1 stat and nothing else. Come on, guys, really? The only one. Other races get +1. Some races get +2, +2. Some races get +2, +1, +1. Now Orc, we'll see, has been adjusted to have only positive ability score improvements and has in theory gotten even more stuff. Kobolds, they just remove the negative and that's it. Yes, I understand kobolds have pack tactics, which is very powerful if you're playing an attacking based class. However, you also have sunlight sensitivity, and I'll remind you that the player version of sunlight sensitivity is worse than the monster version. Sunlight sensitivity is disadvantage on attack rolls or perception checks when the target of your attack or whatever you're trying to perceive is in direct sunlight. I think the enemy monster version just says when you're in the present of direct sunlight or something. Either way, they don't get disadvantage on perception checks if you're in sunlight. I don't feel like the monster version. So yeah, you know what we're gonna do? We're actually gonna go back to the top and we're gonna go pull up just like a drow and look at it, because now I want to make sure I'm getting this covered correctly. So if we go and look at a drow's sunlight sensitivity, while in sunlight, the drow has disadvantage on attack rolls as well as on wisdom perception checks that rely on sight, right? So the drow version, the enemy version, is when they're in it. The player version is when your target is in it. So you could be in the dark, completely in the dark, but your enemy's in direct sunlight and you can't attack them, which I feel like makes it harder, because you could probably find a way to position yourself in such a location that you are not in direct sunlight, or as an enemy to put yourself in direct sunlight to cause the party to be at disadvantage in a theory. Whereas for drow and other things with sunlight sensitivity, it's only when they are present in it. So either way, just a little point of fact. But anyway, back to the errata. So kobolds, they remove their negative ability score, and that's it. Orcs, they remove their negative to intelligence, which originally, I'll remind you, an orc had +2 strength, +1 con, -2 intelligence. That -2 has been removed. And then it says the menacing trait has been replaced with primal intuition. So let's take a look at what they did for orc. Orc has strength +2, con +1. That's it now. They currently still have dark vision. They have aggressive, which is as a bonus action, you can move up to your speed toward an enemy of your choice that you can see or hear. You must end this move closer to an enemy than when you started. So it's sort of like a dash action as a bonus action all the time, as long as you're using it to move towards an enemy. You will get powerful build, so you're one size larger for determining carrying capacity. And originally, you just got menacing proficiency in the intimidation skill. It has been changed to be the same as like the Orc of Exandria, where now it is primal intuition. You now get 2 skill proficiencies of your choice from a list of animal handling, insight, intimidation, medicine, perception, and survival. So again, I just want to point out for the orcs, they removed their negative of -2 intelligence, and they gave them an additional skill while also now giving them an option of choosing, 6 skills? As opposed to just giving them 1, they now get to choose from 1 of 6, and they get 2. Kobolds lose their negative to strength, and that's it. And I don't know. Don't even give them superior dark vision, because every other race in the game that has sunlight sensitivity has 120 feet of darkness. Also, 90% of the time, I feel like most people encounter kobolds, even in the pre-written adventures, they're on the surface. So what's going on with that? So yeah, I don't know. I hope that that's not how that works. I think technically the way the lineage system allows is you basically get to pick +2 from a race and +2 to an ability score or +1 to another. And I think that that's just how it works. So in theory, you might be able to get around that using the lineage system to give your kobold +2, +1. I mean, why not? Why not make it +2 dexterity, +1 intelligence, +1 wisdom? I don't know. Give them something. So I don't know. That's just, I read that, and usually, we get these when the new book comes out, because we know that there's going to be changes, the removal of negative ability scores and potential alterations to the races in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. My assumption is we've just seen what those are right now, and it's pretty similar. We knew that the orc was basically just going to become the Eberron orc, and the Wildemount orc are the one that we just went over. So I knew that the orc was going to eventually become that. I could just tell they were going to go that route when it got reprinted twice, and it was better in both versions. I knew they were just going to alter that. And I had my hopes up for the kobold getting a rework and changing some abilities. That doesn't seem to be the case. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I did a whole video on fixing the kobold in the past because I thought it needed help. I still believe that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you to my patrons over on Patreon for continuing to support me and the channel. I will see you all next time.